Before I start, I would like to offer my condolences for the people who are suffered from the Typhoon Yolanda. My sincere sympathy for the numerous people who are affected by the disaster. Okay, my name is Eiji Kitamura, as he explained. I'm a developer advocate working at Google, mainly focusing on Chrome and open web stuff. I'm based in Tokyo, in Japan, and yeah, I'm working on various things that's happening in the browser front end. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about how to make the mobile web faster. So how many people in this room actually have a mobile phone? Everyone, right? Everyone, right? So where do you usually use your phone? I'm sure you use it at home, right? In office, and maybe here, and while you are walking, and maybe in the toilet. Something that's unusual for people who are living outside of Japan is that we can actually use the phones in the subways, right? I mean subway, not at the stations, but on the train, in between the stations, which is moving, right? So Japanese mobile phone carriers enable the mobile base station underground, so we can use data connectivity in between the stations, and we can still surf the web using the mobile phones. Isn't this amazing? So it's like I have 1 hour commute from my home to the office, and half of my commute is like on train, and it has data connectivity all the time, 100%. But I still have a problem, because when the train is moving, even if we have data connectivity, it's not very, very stable. And sometimes it gets flaky or sluggish. So it's a destiny for the mobile devices. Comparing to desktop, on the mobile phones, the data connectivity is very flaky. So what can we do as a developer to solve that kind of problem? So comparing to desktop, the mobile phone has a very thin connectivity that amount of data needs to be loaded to the mobile phone takes time. So as a developer, we can build a website that's optimized for mobile website. That's what I'm going to talk about today. So I'd like to show you some techniques how to optimize and increase performance of your mobile website today. So I've been working closely with a team that's dedicated to the website performance, as well as a team that's working on the Google mobile search in Japan, and also external developers who are working on performance. So 1 second. Do you think 1 second is long or short? It depends on people, right? Some people say long, and some people say short. It depends on the context. How about 100 milliseconds? Is it long or short? So let me show you something. I'm going to show you spinning Chrome icon, 2 spinning Chrome icons. That shows up for 1,000 milliseconds. And the other one is 900 milliseconds. And let's compare which is longer. Which was longer? Let me try once again. This and this. Which was longer? Did you get it? Actually, to be honest, I did a little cheat here. So the icon on the left-hand side says it's 1,000 milliseconds, but it actually showed that 900 milliseconds. And the other one, on the right-hand side, it shows up 1,000 milliseconds, although the text says it's 900 milliseconds. So it's really difficult to tell the difference of the 100 milliseconds, right? So it's very, very difficult to tell the difference. But what is the point to optimize the website to eliminate that 100 milliseconds? This is a report from our research team at Google a few years back. This shows how small delays affect humans' behavior. So in this research, we have picked up random number of people, users, and we inserted arbitrary delay between page load times and for a few weeks. Don't worry too much about the, which part we inserted the delay, but the important thing is that it actually caused users' behavior by inserting that delay. For example, if you look at the row from the second from the bottom, it's inserting 400 millisecond delay. And for 6 weeks, after that, the users with that delay decreased the number of searches by 0.59%. How about 100 milliseconds? We were not quite able to detect the difference, right? So second from the top says that a delay with 100 milliseconds and for 4 weeks. And surprisingly, people did 0.2% less searches comparing to the without the delay. This means that you actually know the difference unconsciously. Even you don't detect the difference by brain, but you know the difference, so you react to the delay. So it makes sense to optimize your website much faster, even slightly. So now we have a good reason to optimize your website. How can we make the mobile website faster than now? Before we go deep, dive deep into the concrete techniques, I'd like to review some basic stuff. First thing is cache. So let me bring up JSConf website here. What we are looking at is Chrome DevTools opened up on the right-hand side. And by clicking on the Network tab, you will see all the list of resources that are loaded to this website. By looking at the column called status, you will see numbers of HTTP response. And if you see 200, that means that the server is responding with full content. But if you reload the page, and if the cache is available, you should see some responses with 3 or 4, which means that server responded with that, OK, your browser has cache, so you can use that cache instead of the response I'm going to give. Right? So the interaction between server and browser is much faster. And sometimes you will see response with 200 with great text. This means that browser knows that, OK, I don't even have to ask the server that I need, if I should use cache or not. Browser knows that I can use this cache. So there's no interaction between browser and server for that case. If you're not sure, you can just look into the, by clicking on the resource, you look at the server header. you will see the response header with cache control or E tag or last modified. These are indication of that the server is responding with good indication of cache. I'm not going deep about this thing, but please make sure that you have cache enabled. And also, it's important to enable compression. There are surprisingly a lot of sites that doesn't have a compression enabled. So make sure that your response header have content encoding gzip or something like that. That's done by web server, so that the amount of size of the content will be compressed and transferred to the browser. Okay, now we have the very basic stuff, right? From here on, I'm going a little deeper how to optimize your website. This figure is actually taken from a website called httparchive.org. The number is tracked by crawling Alexa top 1 million sites on the internet. This one shows the breakdown of components, website component sites by content type. As you can see, there are scripts, style sheets, Flash, HTML, images, and others. And as you can see, the significant part of this graph is images, more than half. This means that if you could optimize images and reduce its size, you win. So how can we optimize image sizes? One way you can do is to shrink or compress further as much as possible. But we are already using formats like JPEG, GIFs, and PNGs, right? We are already compressed. Can we compress further? Actually, you may be able to do. So what I'm going to demo here is to show you to use a tool called Image Optim. Let me show you. Image Optim. It's a free tool you can download from the internet. And I'm going to pick up one image from JSConf website and see, let me see how far it can shrink the size. So, okay, I'm going to use this image. I don't know where this image is used, but it's on the website. So let me find my Finder. Wow, there it is. So wonder if I can drag and drop this image onto. There you go. So we now have this image, and size of this image is now 387 kilobytes. Then what I'm going to do is to use this tool by drag and drop and see how small it can get. So it takes a little while. Actually, is it working? Yeah, it should be working. So now it should have reduced its size. It's saved 56.4% so far. Let me see. It takes too long. Anyway, this image could reduce the size significantly, right? So its original size was 387 kilobyte, but it's now go down to about like 170 kilobytes. It's significant, right? I think this image, particular image, is a quite extreme example. If you pick other images, it only reduces like 5% or 6%, but actually you have room to optimize your image. So this is, please check all the images on your website if it has more rooms to optimize or compress, right? So that's image optimization. And actually, there are a bunch of tools that's available on the web. And one of my colleagues, Adios Money, has put together a very nice web blog that have a list of those kind of tools that optimizes the images. So please have a look on, read on his blog when you have time. And the next thing is WebP. WebP is a new image format that Google is pushing forward, which could be lossless, transparent, animated, or can have a color profile and metadata. So, and it offers amazing compression rate. You will surprise. So let me demo this one as well. I'm going to use a tool called XNConvert. And let me pick other image, maybe. Something like this. Okay. So where is it? So now we have an image with size of 113 kilobytes. And what I'm going to do is, to convert this image into WebP. So the output format is WebP, and settings as, I just leave it as default, 80% of quality. And convert, boom. Now you have a WebP image. And let me just drag and drop this onto the browser so you can see how it looks. So this is image WebP, done with WebP. And this is JPEG. Do you see difference? Not so much, right? Just a little bit, but not significant. And then look at the size. The original image was 113 kilobyte. And WebP is actually 37 kilobytes. It's surprisingly small. So WebP, we are pushing WebP forward, but it's not perfect yet. So unfortunately, WebP is only supported on browser Chrome right now. So if you want to make WebP working on other browsers, you need workaround. Yeah, it's important people's encouragement other browsers to support it. So if you want to work around on other browsers, I will suggest 3 methods. One is to use a feature detection on JavaScript. So for example, if you use Modernizer, the library called Modernizer, you can detect that if WebP is available or not. So if WebP is not available, you can request an image with other extension, not like JPEG or PNG. Right? The second workaround is to use accept header. It's sent by Chrome, so the server should receive content encoding header with accept header with WebP, indicating WebP. So server knows that if the user, the user agent, the browser, has availability to display WebP image. So server can decide if it should serve WebP image or not. And third suggestion is to use polyfill. There is a polyfill called WebP.js. So you can server just sends WebP image to the browser, and the browser uses the WebP.js library to convert that image into something different that's affordable for the browser, if not available. So you have a workaround, but it's a very good idea to use WebP. Please consider using it. So other techniques to reduce image sizes is to use inline images and spriting. Spriting images technique to, I'm sure that everyone here knows about this technique, but this is an idea to combine multiple images into one single image and optimize the connection to the server so that browser only makes one connection to the server and download multiple images, and exposing that each part of image by using CSS, it will reduce overhead. This technique is quite good for small and repeatedly used images. And the inlining image is actually inline the image as a text into the HTML. So you can actually convert binary into a string called data URL. By inserting that data URL into HTML, you can have single connection to the server and download both HTML and image. If you embed multiple images as a data URL, you will have everything with one single data connection. But you have to keep in mind that converting binary image into data URL will bloat by 30%. So data URL will have 30% more size than original one. So you have to watch that and use it with care. This is suitable for image that's not repeatedly used or large ones. OK, now you have all image assets optimization optimized as possible as we can. What else can we do? So we have text, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. One idea to optimize loading of text file is to combine or concatenate multiple files. This is a very common idea, right? So JavaScript, for example, you can just simply concatenate multiple files into one file and load it to the HTML. So it will be single connection to the server. The next idea is to minify HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In the example you are looking at on the slide is actually the CSS. So you can remove spaces and returns and compress that into one single string. That's very simple. But in some cases, for example, JavaScript, sometimes some tools does changing the name of a variable with keeping the semantics. So it could be much, much more small. So you shouldn't do that manually, of course. So you should use tools. There are a bunch of tools available on the internet, free tools like YUI compressor, Clojure compiler, CSS min.js, and so on. You know it. And one tool that I particularly like is uncss. Uncss is a tool that detects the unused styles from the CSS by crawling through all the HTML and find the unused styles and remove that. This is particularly particularly convenient for when you are using like Bootstrap or jQuery UI. You know, you have a bunch of assets that's not used, that you are not using, right? For concatenation and minification and so on, it's a good idea to use grunt because you don't want to run those kind of small tasks every time you finish development or try to test. So you have a very good tool called grunt so that you can automate that kind of workflow. It's a good idea to use grunt. If you don't know about grunt, please check out grunt.js.com. All right, how many time do I have? I'm lost. Okay, all right. So, by the way, knowing how browser connects to the server is quite important, especially when you're trying to find the point of optimization. So this figure is showing the approximate timing how connection is established, and each process is distributed on 3G mobile network. So for example, when the browser tries to connect or fetch content from the server, first thing it does is to DNS lookup. It looks for the domain and extract the IP address, right? DNS lookup. That takes 200 milliseconds. Then the browser tries to connect with TCP connection. That takes also 200 milliseconds. And third, the browser sends HTTP request and receive HTTP response. That takes another 200 milliseconds. Then the browser receives the data content. That takes 200 milliseconds. And finally, the browser takes 200 milliseconds to render the content. So if you are on 3G network, it takes at least 1 second to load everything. So you cannot do anything about the first three portion: DNS lookup, TCP connection, and HTTP request and response. But we do want to optimize more, right? What else can we do? So one idea is to eliminate redirection. So if you're serving mobile-specific version of your website, that means that you have desktop version as well as mobile version. So when your website goes social media, the URL has one canonical URL, ideally. That means that if you have different URLs for desktop and mobile, the URL should be redirected to mobile version if the user is accessing from a mobile device, right? So it needs redirection, and it takes 0.6 seconds, 600 milliseconds at least to redirect. So it's time-consuming, right? So if we could, we should remove that redirect. What can we do to eliminate that redirection? So one idea is to make the website responsive, so that serving one HTML to support all the devices that user is accessing from. And the second idea is to use server-side branching, which means that the important thing is that keeping the URL the same. So depending on the user agent, if the server could serve different HTML depending on the user agent, that would be a good idea. In that case, you have to keep in mind that adding very header on HTTP header, that tells the search engine crawler that this URL resource may vary depending on something. In this case, user agent. So if you're serving something that's varies depending on user agent, you should add vary header to the HTTP response. And the final idea is to use a with an attribute called ping. This is a particular use case. Sometimes you want to track which link user clicked, so you insert the redirection page in between the next page and original page. You just want to track the user, but you insert the redirection page. I think it's not very good. Like when I'm looking at Facebook, that has a redirection page, and it takes sometimes more than 1 second. It's not good, right? But if you add ping attribute, it will send two external connections. One is to the next web page. One is to ping the URL, so that the browser goes forward to the next page, as well as pinging the URL to let the server know that which link the user has clicked. This is actually used on a Google mobile search. If you are curious, use Google Chrome and check out the source code. Okay, and DNS is something we can optimize too. So if you're, like we have seen on the previous slide, that if you make a connection to the server, the first thing it does is to resolve the DNS. But it takes 200 milliseconds. If we could eliminate that, we save 200 milliseconds each connection. What we can do is to add link tag with rel equals DNS prefetch. That way, as you can see on the figure on the slide, the DNS lookup happens before the actual connection. This is very useful. So DNS will be cached on the browser, right? This is useful not only for a single page, but also the pages that have a multiple, next page. So if you could predict the DNS that's pop up at the next web page, if you could resolve that DNS in advance, you will save 200 milliseconds. So it's a good idea to add this DNS prefetch thing. Okay, so we've been improving size and connection numbers for images, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. What else can we do? So one more thing we can improve is that perception of users. Here's an example website that I'm going to show you. So what you are looking at is a demo website that blocks the rendering. So you have the second block. It's stopped right now. It's loading the advertisement, and it's stopped. Do you know why? Because browser tried to render the web page from top to the bottom by reading the HTML. And if the browser finds a script link, it's trying to download the resource and execute that JavaScript. Meanwhile, the rendering is stopped. It's blocked. So it's not a good idea to insert the JavaScript in the middle of HTML, the body. So what you should do is to move the script tag to the bottom of HTML if possible, or add async attribute, which enables the browser to load that script while the browser is doing the rendering. And as soon as the browser finished loading that script, it executes. That's async attribute. And defer attribute enables the browser to wait for the script to execute until the browser finishes rendering. Meanwhile, the script is loaded. So it's a good idea to use these two attributes, async and defer. If you care about the order of JavaScript execution, you should use defer. If you don't, you use async. So mind about the JavaScript blocking. And it's also important to prioritize the visible content. So if the user is browsing your website, all they care about is the thing that you see at the first glance. So we call the region on the web page that's available on the first glance above the fold. So we should prioritize that. By inlining important portion of CSS, which means the CSS particular part of visible part above the fold, by inlining that, it should be prioritized, and you can see that HTML rendered as soon as possible. If not, you can just defer that to the later, right? And also, it's a good idea to consider about the timing of the image load. There's no point loading all the image of long content. You know, the user won't see image at the bottom of the web page, so you can load that images later. So that's called lazy image loading. There are a bunch of tools that enables that kind of feature. So you should keep in mind that the user's perception. All right, so speed is experience. So we've been walking through many aspects of optimization of a website. I think most of the techniques I have introduced can be applied to not only for mobile, but also for desktop. And but it's kind of tough to check all the things that we've been walked through. So actually, we have a very good tool for you to easily check the optimization condition of your, how well you are doing on your website, which is called PageSpeed Inside. By going to PageSpeed Inside website, you can just input your website's URL and see the score of it. So 100 is the perfect, and you will see the score, how well you're doing. And this tool, PageSpeed Inside, also gives you concrete ideas how you can further optimize your website, which I have introduced to you today. So please use PageSpeed Inside if you're curious. And also there's a tool called WebPageTest. WebPageTest.org allows you to analyze a website more detailed than PageSpeed Inside. And from multiple locations around the globe using real browsers and real consumer connection speed. It's quite useful when you want to analyze a website more in detail. Actually, this web page test thing is actually open source. So if you are interested, you can just fork it and build your own version of WebPageTest and maybe continuously watch the performance of your website over time. And here's the spoiler. So we have a tool called ModPageSpeed, which actually does most of the things that I have explained today. Just by installing ModPageSpeed onto your web server, it magically do everything that's possible to optimize your website. So, but, you know, I have explained everything that, many things that today, it's still useful because you know what the ModPageSpeed will do. And if you have any trouble, you will see which portion of the module of ModPageSpeed has something wrong or whatever, you know. Or the best thing you could do is to just do that optimization by yourself, of course, because, you know, if you use these kind of tools, that uses its resource, server resource. So if you could do by yourself, that's the best thing. Okay. So with that, so I've been walking through many aspects of website optimization, but hopefully that helps your website development. With that, thank you for your time.